record and record it. Okay. And okay. Manoma.
Yeah. Oh. Oh. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Samasta Janakalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Shantaakaram Bhujagasenam Padmanabham Suresham Vishwadharam Gaganasadrusam Meghavarnam Shubhangam Lakshmi Kantam Kamalanayanam Yogi Hrudyanagamyam Vande Vishnum Bhavabhayaharam Sarvalokaikanadam Sachidanandarupaya Vishwot विश्वोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्रय विनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.
Very good. 1 second. There's a mistake here. I keep forgetting to correct it. Very good. Okay. So,
I will be talking about 5, 6, and 7. Those are the verses. And the fifth verse, the question here was how to determine what is Satvika, Rajasika, and Tamasika. In this verse, it says what wise men praise through their words and follow in their lives and urge us to do is Satvika. They show us why Tamasika is censured and the drawbacks by giving an example. Drinking alcohol dulls the mind and so on. Even though they neither censure or praise Rajasika pursuits, they indicate they should be avoided. When question of how to know who is wise, whom we are, when we are honest within, have faith and know what is right and what is wrong, we will know whom to follow and what to do. So the verse 6 is here the question is what is achieved by making all our pursuits sattvika? A sattvic mind naturally gravitates towards Lord and raise in devotion and knowledge of Lord. We realize that Lord outside resides as self within us, and sattva with devotion leads to self knowledge. Man of realization then gains from abundance in the knowledge and destroys the identification with body and mind. And the man transcends the three gunas and no longer bound by them. Verse 7 explaining to us by giving the example how increasing sattva help one to go beyond the three gunas. Fire arising due to forcefully rubbing of the bamboos burnt the forest, afterwards dies by itself. In the same way, mind which arises from the combination of gunas also dies due to the force of knowledge, and the self knowledge which manifests as the thought, I am the infinite, thereafter itself ends. That's it.
Very beautiful. Nice the flow of thought after Bhagavan talked about the various aspects of our daily life, where how one should live, sattvic, not rajasic and tamasic, everything beautifully described. And then the question comes, hey, how do you know what is sattvic? Okay, if you follow all the ones that are given in that instructions we saw up till the page 30, then we'll definitely know. Anyway, but if you don't know, like Taittiriya Upanishad says, one should follow what the wise people do in our community. And who are the wise people? The wise people who work for the community, not selfishly, for their own sake. And who are always happy and blissful, who are always helpful to the community, and without them demanding, the community looks up to them for guidance. And so now the teaching continues. Now Uddhava asks another question. Okay, and so we will see what the question is. Two things I want to tell before we finish. I thought we will be able to come to the how the name Hamsagita came to this book today, but I think it will be probably next week. This conversation about this gunas and all that is going on still. Number two, I might have to stop before 8:30 because there's another class, meeting for the April 19th program at 8:30. And so I might have to leave exactly at 8:30 or a couple of minutes before. Okay? Very good. So we will start number 8. उद्धव उवाच उद्धव उवाच विदन्ति मर्थ्या प्रयेण विदन्ति मर्थ्या प्रायेण विषयान् पदमापदां विषयान् पदमापदां तथापि भुञ्जते कृष्ण तथापि भुञ्जते कृष्ण तत्कथं स्वखराजवतो तत्कथं स्वखराजवतो. Chant once more together. उद्धव उवाच विदन्ति मर्त्या प्राप्येण विषयान् पदमापदां तथापि भुञ्जते कृष्ण तत्कथं स्वखराजवतो. It's a very beautiful question Uddhava has come up with, just like Arjuna had asked a similar question in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So we'll see that one. Mano Naidu, you want to read, Amma?
Uddhava Uvacha. Uddhava asked, Vidanti, know that Matyaha, men, Prayena, generally, Vishayan, sense objects, Apadam, Padam, or the cause of sorrow, Tatha, Api, yet, Tat, Bunjate, do they enjoy them, sense objects? Krishna, O Krishna, Katham, why? Swa, Kar, Aja, what? Like the dog, donkey, and goat. Uddhava asked, O Krishna, generally men know that sense objects are the cause of sorrow. Then why do people go after them like a dog, donkey, or goat? You want me to continue?
Yeah, finish it up, Amma.
In Sanskrit, Ud means above or supreme, and Dhava means the Lord. Uddhava therefore means the one who considers God as the Supreme Lord. Uddhava naturally wonders at the foolishness of man's crazy run after sense pleasures. Any person with an inquiring mind knows well through his own experience that power corrupts, intelligence causes disease and loss, and money often gets one into trouble. That pleasures are short lived, acquired with too much effort and addicting. Still, man is not able to either give up the objects or his craving for pleasures or his running after them. The dog salivates when the hand that beats it or the one that insults it holds a bone. It runs after its mate in spite of the latter expressing displeasure or dejection. The donkey gets kicked by the female donkey and yet runs after her. The goat watches other goats getting slaughtered and knows its turn is coming soon, yet is eager to feed. Or the ram runs after the goat even as it is being taken to the slaughterhouse. Such actions do not give any lasting joy nor bring an end to one's sorrow. Man wishes for the result of meritorious actions, happiness, yet does not do good. He does not want the results of sin, sorrow, yet does unmeritorious or positively sinful actions with effort. Having lived lifetimes in such an extroverted way, it becomes difficult for man to pursue everything in life which is good and sattvika. Clearly, and of course, explained a lot about all the things that can cause you, um, sorrow in samsara. Still, we go after them, and you know, uh, all the power and the money and the um, efforts to get the pleasures and all that. And of course, some of the examples that is given there, how these animals, the dog, looks at the hand of the person that has the bone, even though salivates, even though that hand has beaten it and insulted it, and also runs after the mate, even though the mate is showing a lot of displeasure or rejection. So, and of course, the next one.
For this week, my schedule for Dr. Vijay is Tuesday and Friday.
Okay.
Girijama, would you want to mute yourself, please? Okay, thank you.
And this next one is the donkey gets kicked by the female donkey, but it runs after that. And the goat, even though understands that it's going to the slaughterhouse and it's coming soon, but still it's eager to feed. And the ram runs after the goat, even though the goat is going into the slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
So all these actions are sorrowful, and the man wishes the happiness, but he doesn't do anything good. And he does all these unmeritorious and sinful things, but he wants happiness.
Yeah.
So Uddhava ends saying that lifetimes you do all these extroverted ways of living, and it will be very difficult for the man to pursue the life of sattvika and good.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you, Amma. So we can see how though we know what is right and wrong, we continue to go after the pleasures of the world, knowing that they are short-lived and in the long term leads to mental and physical problems and even future uh, uh, life. But animals don't have a choice because they live on instinct and live on their hormone balances in their body. But in spite of the same kind of situation, a human being, man has an intellect by which he can control. But we live like animals in a human body. That's what this, uh, Uddhava is trying to tell. So I like that the etymology of the word Uddhava. This Ud means the supreme. Dhava means the supreme God. So the one who is devoted to supreme God. So, and let me say this couple of things from the references Swamiji has given. The same thing that I brought up from the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna saying they asked the same question. Atakena prayuktoyam papam charati purushaha anichinnapi varshneya bhaladiva niyojitaha. He says, after Bhagavan taught about the Gnana Yoga and Karma Yoga and all that, Arjuna says, uh, why that knowing all these things, the Purusha papam charate, he goes along the sinful actions. How? Anichinnapi, as though he is no control over it. Okay. Vashnaya, Lord Krishna. Bhaladivan yojita. Okay. By some strong force that is making him do the sinful act. Same way, Swamiji is giving a reference to the Bhartruhari Vairagya Shatakam. He says, Bhoge Yoga Bhayam, Kule Yutti Bhayam, Chuti Bhayam, Vitte Nrupalad Bhayam, Mane Dhainya Bhayam, Bale Ripu Bhayam, Rupe Jaraya Bhayam, Shastre Vadhibhayam, Gune Kalabhayam, Karye Krutantadbhayam, Sarvam Vastu Bhayanvitam, Bhuvi Nrupam Vairagyameva Abhayam. So Vairagya alone is the true fearlessness. But all the others that you go after, the worldly things, they always have the fear of losing what you have or that you are going after and you are not going to get. Same way Bhajagovindam, Swami is referring to is Arthamanartham Bhavaya Netyam Nashita Tatsukalesha Satyam Putradapi Dhanabhajam Bhitihi Sarvatraisha Vihitaritihi. Wealth is not really welfare. Truly there is no joy in it. Reflect thus at all times. A rich man fears even his own son. This is the way of wealth everywhere. But you have to understand wealth is necessary, okay, to some extent to make a living in this world. But don't make the wealth as the goal of life. Wealth is a means for a happy life and to do our sadhana, but not the wealth by itself is the goal. This another quotation Swamiji has referred to the Mahabharata, but when I looked it up, it is not in Mahabharata, it is in Hitopadesha. It says, Punyasya palamichyante, punyam nechyati manavaha. People desire the fruits of merit, punya, but they do not desire to perform the merit itself. And the real Hitopadesha says, Phalarthinaha kutah punyam vina punya palam bhavet. Phalarthina, the ones who want the results of the meritorious actions, okay? Kuta, how? Punya vina, without doing the punya karmas, punya palam bhavet, how could they acquire the results of action? Another way of putting the same thing is, papascha palamichyante, papam kurvanti yatnataha. They don't want the results of bad actions, but with effort they do the sinful actions. So We have to remember all these things and think properly and do it. So you can say this is actually for younger people who have to keep all these things in mind and keep a balanced life. So of course, for us also, for the rest of our lives, that we need to continue to uh, do our sadhana, mending our ways, because even if we have another life, that if we have changed our attitude, hopefully our next life will be more peaceful in our earlier days itself. So, anybody want to add comment? So, Lord Krishna is replying to Uddhava next. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. अहमित्यन्यथ बुद्धिः प्रमत्तस्य यथा हृदि अहमित्यन्यथा बुद्धिः प्रमत्तस्य यथा हृदि उत्सर्पति रजो घोरम् उत्सर्पति रजो घोरम् ततो वैकारिकं मनः ततो वैकारिकं मनः. Chant once more. अहमित्यन्यथा बुद्धिः प्रमत्तस्य यथा हृदि उत्सर्पति रजो घोरम ततो वैकारिकं मनः. Okay. Let us see. Maya, you want to read, Amma?
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Sri Bhagavan Uvach. The Lord replied, Aham iti, of the nature of I in the body. Anyatha buddhihi, wrong notion. Pramattasya, for the deluded. Yatha utsarpati, there arises. Hradi, in the mind. Tatha, due to that I notion. Vaikarikam manaha ghuram rajaha. The mind is modified by terrible rajas. The Lord replied, for the deluded there arises in the mind the wrong notion of I in the body. And due to that I notion, the mind is modified by terrible rajas. Pramada, which is tamasic quality, is translated variously as ignorance of one's true nature, carelessness, forgetfulness, or indifference. Ignorance is the root cause of the false notion, I am the body.
You want to comment?
It is just saying, Bhagwan is explaining to Uddhava, saying that pramad is the tamasic quality. And you can, it can be seen different, rati, like ignorance of the, it is the ignorance of true nature, is saying. Could be a carelessness, forgetfulness, inadvertence. And then he's saying the ignorance is the root cause of a false notion is I am the body. If
Right.
you think I am the body, that is the root cause of all the false
Correct.
notions.
Yeah. Because of Thomas, you don't know who you are, and then you look at the body and look at the world and say, I am the body, the world is different from me. And so the world is going to give me happiness if I gain more and more of the world. More I gain, more happiness I will have. If I have infinite things, I'll be infinitely happy. But we know we cannot have infinite things because there will always be competition from others. So we'll continue. Murli, you want to finish the next two paragraphs, sir?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me? It is a paradox that we wish to get rid of our attachment to things and beings and desire for pleasure, and yet hold on to the notion, I am the body, which is the very cause of attachment and desires. we want objects and pleasures only for the sake of the body and mind, how can we then hope to get detached without eliminating the false notion, I am the body? The mind is made up of satvika aspects of the five subtle elements. It is therefore pure by nature. It, however, gets polluted like water by mud when it gets mixed with rajas and tamas. The notion "I am the body" gives rise to rajas in the form of desires, agitations, anger, greed, and so on, which then completely overpowers and takes over the mind. The sattvic qualities of peace and poise are lost in the strong contents of rajas.
Want to comment?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little confused here, Raghuji, because it says the concept of I am the body, and you made a
If you
distinction.
take your hand off your mouth, it will help me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, okay. Yeah, let me see if I can keep the microphone closer. So, so basically, what I'm confused is we have the concept of I am the body, and the world is different from me. The world is giving us the pleasure, but at the same time, um, uh, are we saying that if we don't relate to the body and we say that um, the I mean, so if we don't make the distinction between the body and the world, then the pleasure, all these objects that give us pleasure will not affect us, or it's just the attachment that is causing the attachment is what causing the wanting the pleasures, right? So
Correct.
we have to break the attachment.
Correct. Correct.
So so and what is the connection? The attachments are because of the thinking that I am the body and the objects are different, so we need to be attached to the object.
Correct. Correct. So
Okay,
when when uh, when I think I am this body, when you say body, you have to understand body, mind, the intellect, all of them together, all the panchakoshas. When you
right.
think I am this limited thing, and because of our vasanas from the previous life and the previous life in this own body, then you get some pleasures. Oh, this is a sweet thing. I enjoy this sweet. Oh, I like this person's company, or the money can buy things like that. All these vasanas continue to feed upon themselves and continue to be more and more attached to the world of objects. But only when you use your intellect and know, hey, all this do give happiness, but if you just get attached to them, then you are no better than the animals. And they continue to be more and more involved. Once you have desire, if you get the desire fulfilled, you get greedy. If the desire not get pulled, you get angry at the person who obstructs your thing. Then somebody else gets it, you get jealous. Otherwise, you get pride if you get it. Things like that. All these six enemies of your mind continue to control you. And so, only by satsang and understanding through the scriptures, I am not the body, but I am in the body, and I have to control my body uh, and my mind, my senses by Shama, Dama, and Uparama, then you will continue to be suffering. So that is the. So let us see what Vivek Chudamani says. I mean Shankaracharya says in Vivek Chudamani. He says, Nigruhya Shatro Rahamo Avakashaha क्वचिन्न ध्येयो विषयानुचिन्तया स एव सञ्जीवनहेतुरस्य प्रक्षालनमम्भिजम्भीर Jambir Tharori Vambuhu. He says, overpowering this enemy, that is egoism, that is, I am this body and the mind and intellect, not a moment's respite should be given to it by thinking of sense objects. You continue to think of morning till evening till you go to sleep, you're thinking of the sense objects or your wealth, or name, fame, and the pleasures that give from the television or talking bad about people, all these things. So he said that is the very cause for its coming back to life. That means all these desires coming back to life because you continue to think about it. Just like water to a citron tree that has almost died up. So you might have controlled it, and all these desires have been under control, but suddenly somebody, some friend comes and say, hey, come on, let us go to a movie, let us do this, let us do that, and then you go and then you get attached again. So it's just like an alcoholic that he controlled, he didn't drink for a few years, and then he said, oh, it'll be okay to drink a little drink, and then he is hooked up again. The same way that the sense objects are like alcohol with that continue to control the person. And same way, another the next verse in the Vivek Chudamani, it says, Dehatmana samsita eva kami vilakshana kamayita katam syat athorta sandhana paratvameva bheda prasatya bhavabandha hetuhu. He alone who has identified himself with the body is greedy for sense pleasure. How can one devoid of body idea be greedy? Hence, the tendency to think of the sense objects is verily the cause of bondage of transmigration, giving rise to an idea of distinction or duality. So one has to constantly study the scriptures and understand and have satsang and continue to every aspect of our life from every minute that we should be very cautious. Anytime we lose our attention, just like when we are driving a car, your mind gets somewhere and then you have an accident. At least I know every time I had an accident in my life, when I look back, my mind was doing something else. So, like that. So, same way in our life, if we are not constantly aware, and the anger, greediness, and silly talk or silly actions, all of them come. So, one has to control. But if you have controlled all that to such an extent in your previous life and your previous years of your life, then you will have achieved some control, okay? Then those things don't bother you. But if you prematurely feel that, oh, uh, these things don't bother me and then I'm going to go, it's okay to enjoy, then we get pulled back. Just like an alcoholic thinks, oh, I can stop anytime. He continued to suffer from the ill effects. So, like I was just finished reading a book on this, what we call, on yoga, and this author says that, of course, he comes from a lower economic family, and so the father is not there, and the mother is depending on the son for that he's going to get a good education, good job, and so then he's going to support me. And so naturally, she wants him to get married and all that. So he gets married, and on the first night of their bed, at 3 o'clock in the morning, suddenly he gets up, takes a cold bath, and sits for meditation. You can say a person who just got married and in the first night in the bed, okay, that he has such a control as to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and sit for meditation for 2 hours, okay. What kind of vairagya he should have developed from his past life. Yes. So like that, not all of us have it, but we have to keep on putting effort. So okay, let me see. Just I want to share another thing. He says, Sattvam Vishuddham Jalavat Tathapi Tabhyam Militva Saranaya Kalpate Yatratmabhimbah Pratibhimbatah San Prakashayat Yarka Ivakilam Jadam. He says the pure sattva is clear like water. Yet in conjunction with those two, that is rajas and tamas, it makes for transmigration. So the reality of the Atman becomes reflected in sattva, and like the sun reveals the entire world of matter very clearly. So I can say when you are pure, just like a pure water, your face gets reflected or the sun is reflected. But when it's agitated by, like if the water is agitated by rajas, the reflection of the sun you cannot see, disturbed. Or if it's tamas, by impurities in the water, and the reflection is dull or cannot be seen. The same way with rajas and tamas, one is not able to enjoy the bliss of the Atman. And so that's why all these last 30 pages that we read is how to make our mind Vishuddha Sattva. 99.9% or more, it should be completely Sattva. So that's why if it's a Malina Sattva, that means you 60-70% you are Sattva and rest is Rajas and Tamas, you will be able to control Rajas and Tamas and continue to grow towards 80%, 90%, 100%. But if Rajas is predominant, then you need to put great effort by study of the scriptures, meditation and contemplation and what do you call the satsang. So he says, Mishrasya sattvasya bhavanti dharmaha tvamani tadya niyama yamadhyaha. श्रद्धाय भक्तिश्च मुमुक्षुता च दैवी स सम्पत्तिरमन्वृत्तिः. The traits of mixed sattva are an utter absence of pride, etc., with niyama, yama, etc., as well as faith, devotion, yearning for liberation, and divine tendencies, and turning away from the unreal. So if you continue to increase our sattva, and it success feeds on success itself, and then you continue to yearn for liberation and you turn away from the objects of the world. That's why he said, Vishuddha sattvasya guna prasadaha swatmanubhutihi parama prashantihi trupti praharshaha Paramatmanistha yaya sadanandarasam samruchati. So the traits of pure sattva are cheerfulness, the realization of one's own self, supreme peace, contentment, bliss, and steady devotion to the Atman, by which aspirant enjoys everlasting bliss. So you can say all those things that are described are nothing but the characteristics of a realized man. That is Vishuddha Sattva. So another Subhashita, he says, Tvam vidya Tvam vidyarthi chet Tyajet sukham. Sukharthi chet. Tyajet vidyam. If you desire knowledge, give up the comforts or pleasures. If you desire comfort, give up knowledge. That's a good advice for the students in school. If you want to enjoy the pleasures, hey, I want to go to the movie, I want to sit and just gossip and things like that, not study, okay, then okay, give up. You are giving up the knowledge unknowingly. But if you're conscious and give up all these worldly pleasures and study, then you will make progress. So the same way in Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna asked the question in the third chapter, why is it, in spite of knowing what is right and wrong, the person does the sinful activities as though forced by some pressure inside. So Bhagavan says there to Arjuna, Kamayesha Krodayesha Rajoguna Samudbhava Mahashano Mahapatma Vidyena Miha Vairinam. So it is the desire begotten of the element of rajas, which appears as wrath. That means forces you to go after the objects. Nay, it is insatiable and grossly wicked. Know this to be the enemy in this case. So what kind of rajas happens? Because of the tamas. What is the tamas? Dhumena vriyate vaknihi yatadarsho malena cha yatholbe navruto garbha tata tenedam avrutam. So if your tamas is little, dhumena avriyate. Just like a smoke is obstructing your view, if you just blow the smoke, then you will be able to see the object. Okay. Yatadasho malenacha. If a mirror is covered by dust, you need to put effort, put a hand and wipe clean for the mirror to you be able to see the mirror. But yatolbe navruto garbaha. If the baby is covered by the womb of the mother, okay, you have to wait till the 9 months for the baby to be delivered, and there's nothing we can do about it. So like that, our rajas and tamas continue to control us. That's why Lord Krishna says, Arutam gnanametena gnanino nitya vairina kamarupena kaunteya dushpurena nalena cha. Knowledge stands covered by this eternal enemy of the wise known as desire. And so the desire related anger, jealousy, pride, all those things, which are insatiable like fire. And so it's very, very important that one should constantly be aware. So, anybody want to comment? You can see two small verses. There's a lot to learn and a lot to reflect on, contemplate on. So Swamiji says the following two verses explain the terrible nature of rajas and its ultimate result in utter sorrow for man. So very, very important that you can have rajas with good amount of sattva, more than 50%. But if rajas is predominating, you are in trouble. So रजो युक्तस्य मनसः रजो युक्तस्य मनसः संकल्प सविकल्पकः संकल्पः सविकल्पकः ततः कामो गुणध्यानात् ततः कामो गुणध्यानात् दुस्सहस्यादि धूर्मतेः दुस्सहस्यादि साध्वि दुर्मतेः करोति कामवशगः करोति कामवशगः कर्माण्यविजितेन्द्रियः कर्माण्यविजितेन्द्रियः दुःखोदर्काणि सम्पश्यन् दुःखोदर्काणि सम्पश्यन् रजो वेगविमोहितः रजो वो रागविमोहितः. I'm going to try to chant once more. रजो युक्तस्य मनसः संकल्पः सविकल्पकः ततः कामो गुणध्यानात् दुःखः स्याद्धि दुर्मतेः करोति कामवशगः कर्माण्यविजितेन्द्रियः दुःखे दर्काणि सम्पश्यन् रजो वेग विमोहितः. Very, very strong sentence. Okay. Nag, you want to read, sir?
Hari Om, sir.
Hari Om.
Rajo dukkasya manassa durmatehe. For the non-discriminating mind overpowered by rajas, sankalpaha, seeing joy in object arise. Savikalpakaha, various thoughts of the nature of tataha, from that arises dutsaha kamaha, irresistible desires. He gunatyanat, constant brooding on the qualities, and from there syat arises karmani karoti, indulge in such action, kama vasagaha, one enslaved by desire, ajitendriyaha, who has not controlled the senses, dukkoda karni, that they would ultimately produce sorrow, sambasyan, even though seeing, rajovega vimohidaha, being deluded by the force of rajas. For the non-discriminating mind, overpowered by rajas, various thoughts of the nature of seeing joy in object arise. Thereafter, by constant brooding on the qualities, arise irresistible desires. One enslaved by desires completely loses control over his senses, and even though seeing that the pleasure would ultimately produce sorrow, indulges in such actions, being deluded by the force of rajas.
Want to comment?
Well, like it says, say the person who realizes it's going to ultimately produce sorrow, going after the pleasure, but I think most of the cases, we don't realize it's ultimately going to give me sorrow. I'm going after the pleasure because I see only the immediate pleasure. I don't see what is going to come after.
Yeah. So many a time you become so forceful, then you say, oh, let me go and enjoy, I'll worry about it later. So unless we have developed such kind of a desire, of course, first thing is not to expose ourselves to the circumstances where it makes you go after the things. Okay. So Dhamma withdrawing, just like a turtle withdrawing the organs from the outside world, it protects itself. Same way that we should withdraw ourselves, all our five senses, from the objects by staying away in satsang. If we don't, then naturally we have to pay the cost of it. Raja Reddy Garu, you want to finish, sir?
So Ravi, this reminds me of that ladder of fall in chapter 2, right?
Right. Yeah. Let us finish this commentary, and then I'll let you find the two slokas, and then I want you to chant and tell me. Raja Reddy Garu, you want to finish, sir?
Okay, sir. The Rajasic mind entertains various thoughts, like, let me have that. Why not have that? It will make me happy, whether I need it or not. I want it. What is life without that? I must have that thing now. I alone must possess it, etc. Man thereafter broods on his desires and desired objects and such constant brooding strengthens the desires till they become irresistible and uncontrollable. The Gita says, one who is able to free himself from the powerful force of desires and anger in this life is indeed happy. One who is completely enslaved by desires can have no control over his senses and vice versa. Such a person cannot keep quiet. His desires will manifest into actions, which result in sorrow. The seeker or an inquiring mind can even foresee the disastrous nature of his pursuits. Yet the force of desire is so strong that he succumbs to it, sometimes in spite of or after a lot of internal struggle.
Yeah.
So it's a great description of the Rajasic mind and Rajasic person. He is born of desires and wants to fulfill his desires. Any object he sees, he wants to possess it, have it, enjoy it, and so on and so forth. So after having that, he puts all his effort to gain that object, enjoys, and followed by suffering. Not necessarily every time followed by suffering either. So anyhow, that is a characteristic quality of Rajasic mind, and therefore that he will go through pleasures and pains of life. And ultimately, somehow, he has to get out of that mode to get into more sattvic mind and then control the desires and then therefore control the sorrows of life and possibly enhance himself a chance to get a liberation from this monotonous samsara.
Very good. Very nice. Thank you. I see that reference by Tejananda Swamiji. Let me go ahead and see that verse, and then we will listen to Murli. So, like in 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Shaknoti haiva yassodum praksharira vimokshanat kama krodhodbhavam vegam sayuktasya sukhi naraha. Sayuktaha sukhi naraha. That person is a very integrated and happy person. Who is this? Shaknoti haiva iha sodum. Right in this life itself, Praksharira Vimokshanat, before he drops the body, Kama Krodhodbhavam Vegam Shaknoti. He is able to control the Kama and Krodha, the force of that. And that person is a Yukta Purusha, he is a happy person. Why? That he has gone beyond the control of Maya. Murali, you want to refer to that Bhagavad Gita, ladder
That
of
was
fall?
not Murali, that was Vishwa.
Or was it Vishwa?
That's
Yeah.
me.
Oh, Vishwa, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's me, Gitaji. So it was
Yeah.
Murli.
No, it was Murli ji.
Okay. So this chapter 2.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Chapter 2, verse 62 and verse 63 is referred to as the ladder of fall, where it starts as Dhyayato Vishyam Pumsa Sangat Tejo Prajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kama Kamat Krodo Vijayate Kroda Bhavati Sammoha Sammohat Mati Rishi Brahma Mati Brahmad Buddhinasho Buddhinashat Pranishyati. Means while concentrating on the object of senses, a person develops attachment, and from such attachment arises desire, develops, and from desire arises anger. Then from anger, complete delusion arises. From delusion, the loss of memory. When memory is lost, intelligence is lost, and intelligence is lost, one perishes. So basically, this whole thing is about when we get uh, contemplating the objects and we get attached to the objects, the power of discrimination is lost. And the moment we lose the power of discrimination, we start taking the bad choices. So I think even here in the previous photo we saw how important it is for the mind to be able to discriminate between the sattva quality and the rajas quality. The rajas gives the pleasure, whereas it's like good things that give you pleasure now, but sorrow later, like sweets and things like that. But when you take medicine, it tastes bitter now, but it does good for you later. So it's almost like you have to discriminate and take things that just be good in the in the in the future rather than temporary pleasure.
Yeah, very nice. So that's the famous two verses that Gurudev calls a ladder of fall, and one has to constantly remember that many a time that we see that we are falling and we cannot control. Okay, and if we can control before itself, then we are winners. But that if once you come to the stage of karma, okay, it's hard to control because your mind has already made up. Oh, I want that object. So before you that, if you discriminate and say, hey, look, so many things I have controlled in my past life. Okay, this is another object like that. Okay, and is it really necessary? So is it necessary to go after? Um, if it happens, fine. If it doesn't happen, fine too. So we have to see what is really important in life and pursue that. So, and then naturally, all the other things will slowly fall off. So, anybody want to get a final last comment, wise statement?
Ravi, I have a question. So all these things make sense when the fundamental, like you say that Maslow's law, you have to have food, shelter, food, clothing, shelter, and then everything else falls in place. But let's say for somebody who uh, say doesn't have a job or lost a job, or they have struggling for income, to that person, getting the job is the primary objective, right? So it's almost like you can't say, don't worry about that, you be happy. How how do you bring all these concepts to the practicality of life where you have to take care of the basic necessities?
You're 100% right. That's where the proper thinking comes. Okay, I need money to make a living to continue to take care of my family. And so I need a job. Okay? And so you go and look for the job. And whatever the kind of job, whether you like it or not, for the sake of the family, you do it. Okay? Because the likes and dislikes don't come there. Because what is important is the money at that time. Okay. But what I said in the beginning itself is don't make the money the final goal of life. That money is going to make you happy. More money, more happiness. So that is not one should. So money should be the means for happiness, for taking care of the family as a duty, as a karma yogi. If if you have dispassion, you don't get married, then you don't have that kind of a responsibility. But as a grihastha, you have a responsibility, so you have to have a job. And if you don't have a job, yeah, naturally you have to get a job. It's not for your selfish reason, but for sustenance of this body, sustenance of the family. So there's a very, very clear distinction there. So like you are already making good money, working 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and then instead of spending happily time with the family and do some good actions and satsang, then you say, oh, I'm going to get a second job and I'm going to get so work on Saturday and Sundays also so that I can make more money. Okay, so that's what that greediness one has to find a balance in life. So,
Thank you.
Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayah, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. So tomorrow, those who are coming for the tomorrow's class, just want to say, tomorrow is Kanika Parameshwari, some special pujas are there in the temple. So as a Vaishya, I want to go there. So there will be no satsang tomorrow. We will meet again the next Monday and Tuesday. I will send a message also. Okay? And Maya, would you do the summary?
Yes, I will do that. That will be next Monday, right?
Next
This
Monday,
one.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I'll do that.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, everyone. Hari Om, Prabhuji. Hari Om, Geeta aunty.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om.